My next patron question is from Andrew, who wants to know about the use of dance doubles in movies. When it comes to movies in which dancing is a central part of the plot, I particularly enjoy the ones in which I know the starring actors did either a majority, if not all, the dancing, and in which stunt dancers were used minimally. Part of what makes me enjoy films like The Red Shoes, Footloose, and Dirty Dancing is knowing that Maura Shera, Kevin Bacon, Patrick Swayze, and Jennifer Grey did all or most of their own dancing. But what I find disappointing about a movie like Flashdance is that Jennifer Beals did absolutely none of her own dancing. While I can understand the use of stunt performers for dangerous stunt work, dancing is something that many actors are trained in, and I think the production team of a movie should always consider that. Do you think dance movies should primarily cast actors that are capable of doing at least most of their own dancing? For me, I think a lot of this depends on what the actors are comfortable doing and if they're okay with a dance double being used. Obviously, there's a hope that when someone signs up to be in a movie where dancing is involved, they're able to do all the required movements. However, sometimes the choreography calls for some complicated things. An interesting case was with the movie Black Swan. There was some controversy related to how much of the dancing in the film was done by Natalie Portman and how much by her dance double. Fox Searchlight and Darren Aronofsky said that most of the ballet scenes were performed by Natalie Portman, and only a few shots featured her dance double, Sarah Lane. There were others who said that the majority was done by Lane. Lane found herself caught in the middle of this, as she did not want to take away from Portman's performance, but also did not want people to think that she had done all the dance moves. Ballet is something that requires so much training, and there were obviously some things Portman would be unable to do. It makes sense then to bring in a dance double, and nowadays they can even digitally put the actor's face onto the double or stunt performer, which is something they did for Black Swan. Apparently this controversy and lack of recognition for Sarah Lane happened out of concern that it would affect Natalie Portman's Oscar chances. However, I think she was awarded for how she played the character rather than specifically the dancing scenes. After all, a few years earlier, Marion Cotillard won the Oscar for playing Edith Piaf in La Vie en Rose, and it was widely known that she did not do her own singing. Rami Malek also won the Oscar for Bohemian Rhapsody, even though they mostly used a singing double, Mark Mattel, and recordings of Freddie Mercury for the concert sequences. Regarding Flashdance, yes, it's true that Jennifer Beals did not do her own dancing for the movie. It's been said that Beals was cast because then Paramount president Michael Eisner asked the studio's secretaries to pick their favorite actress from the screen test, although I'm sure director Adrian Lyne and producers Don Simpson and Jerry Bruckheimer had a say in the matter too. Even knowing that's not actually her dancing, I still don't think that takes away from the power of those scenes in Flashdance, and the intended effect of the filmmakers still comes across on screen. It's interesting that Andrew mentioned Footloose, because Kevin Bacon has mentioned his frustration that dance doubles were brought in to perform the famous warehouse scene. Most of the dancing is still him, but Bacon says he wished he got the opportunity to perform the entire number. He could have been given the chance, but maybe the producers were concerned about him being injured doing the more dangerous moves. I mentioned this in my recent video about actors being cast in movie musicals who cannot sing, but studios and filmmakers have been looking more towards people with theatrical experience when they make musicals. That would include dancing, so when you watch Spielberg's adaptation of West Side Story, for example, the actors really are the ones doing the dancing. Many of them had prior theater and Broadway experience, while Ansel Elgort, who played Tony, studied dance in school. Something in a similar vein is with doubles for movies where characters play instruments. For example, in The Pianist, those are not Adrien Brody's hands we see in close-ups, and while we'll often see actors playing on screen, it's usually somebody else playing the music. Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future is a notable example. While Fox did try and learn how to hit the right strings to the best of his abilities, Tim May recorded the actual guitar solo for Johnny Be Good. Although here's an interesting fact, a piano double had originally been brought in for Ryan Gosling in La La Land, but Gosling ended up learning how to perform the music himself, so that really is him playing the piano in the movie. Back to the subject of dance doubles, I don't find myself that distracted when they bring in someone else to do certain movements for the actors. It all depends on how immersive it is and whether the required emotion and intent of the number still comes through. Thank you for your question, Andrew.